The Bmore Football Podcast is brought to you by Rice Law.
Hello, welcome inside another edition. It is the Bmore Football Podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He is the longtime Baltimore Sun columnist. We won't tell you how long. It's Mike Preston. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify at Bmore Sports Pod is where you find us. Also on YouTube, where you can subscribe for free at Bmore Sports Pod. And of course, you can always watch us at BaltimoreSun.com. In this episode, Mike, we'll recap another meltdown in Buffalo, discuss some of the overreactions we saw from week one. We'll turn our attention to Cleveland. And Mike finally reveals his first report card of the season. We'll see who got the good grades and who didn't pass, as the Ravens didn't pass the muster. And let's get into it, Presto. We begin with For the Birds, brought to us by Rice Law. Hey, Baltimore football fans, if you've been hurt in a car accident, don't go at it alone. The lawyers at Rice Law know how to fight for the compensation you deserve. Protect yourself, protect your family, and remember, best advice, call Rice. Learn more at ricelawmd.com. I really thought they were going to win that game. There's no other way to call it but a choke job. I don't know how else you would refer to what occurred on Sunday night when they had a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter, but found a way to give it all back.
It was a choke job, and they will admit that. They know that. I mean, when you score 40 points, you should win any football game on any level, recreation, pee-wee football, flag football, semi-pro football. You should win the game. When you have almost 400 yards of total offense, you should win that game. When you're ahead by 15 points with 12 minutes left in the game, you just ice it and win it. They didn't get it done. As I wrote in the paper, maybe they should just cancel all trips to Buffalo and never go back because they don't have any success there. But they had it. And matter of fact, we had already filed stories pretty much saying they win, it's over, it's done. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we got to go back and rewrite because they lost the game.
Which is the worst feeling for a writer or a columnist. They had a 99% chance to win the game with 4 minutes left. So I can understand writing that column in advance before you headed down to what you thought was going to be a victorious locker room.
Well, we had to do the instant analysis, and at first, it's over. By the pretty much of the fourth quarter, start of the fourth quarter, you thought, they're going to win this. It's a big relief, because they worked so hard during the offseason, workouts and so forth to get this to this point. And then all of a sudden, it's being snatched away because of a fumble, because of a freak play where the Bills scored a touchdown. And then at the end, Josh Allen, he made some throws in that extra period, where it wasn't an extra period, but in regulation, incredible. And, for those who keep saying who should have been the MVP, I don't care who's the MVP. I'll take either one of the two quarterbacks that started in that game Sunday night and win with both.
They both had excellent nights, no disputing that. But Buffalo scored 22 points there in the fourth quarter, 16 in the final 356. And it all comes back to another blown lead for the purple and black. You've witnessed an awful lot under John Harbaugh's reign.
Yeah. I've always thought John was very good at team chemistry, putting teams together. But sometimes on game day and game day decisions, I question some of the things that he has done. And I probably will for the remainder of either one of our careers. But they had it. I mean, and you go back and there's so many plays in that game. You can't just say there's 4 or 5 plays that turn a game around. There's a bunch of plays in each of those games that will dictate who wins and who loses. And the Ravens just don't get it done. Even on the 3rd and 9 at the end of the game, DeAndre Hopkins, why do you run it's 3rd and 9, why do you run a 7-yard pattern? All right, at least go 12, push the DB back, and then come back, you get a first down. Those are the things you have to ask, and this guy's a veteran. Why do you do those things? Derrick Henry, why not put 2 hands on the ball? There's a lot of questions you have to ask, but they don't get it done. For whatever reason, they just don't get it done.
There were a lot of curious decisions. We're going to address most of them, if not all of them. But getting back to the blown leads, I got a bowl full of word salad Monday when I asked the coach about these blown leads.
It's just one game, but going back a couple of years, some of the fourth quarter leads that have evaporated. Is there a rhyme or reason for it? Because it's happening an awful lot.
And maybe part of it's the fact that we've been ahead a lot. You know, we've won a lot of games, so we've had a lot of two-score leads. So we've kept a lot of those, but I think we've lost 6 of them, if I'm not mistaken. That's too many. I don't care how many two-score leads you have. And I do believe that we need to be really thoughtful of, you know, how we decide that we're going to approach those situations going forward. You know,
How do you even interpret that, Mike? Because he was talking about them having a 2-touchdown lead. That wasn't the point of the question.
It's a tough question because you have to defend yourself, but he can't. You can't do that. I mean, when you go back and look at it, say, whoa, no. This doesn't make sense. Why are we losing these games? And there's no rhyme or reason except for, hey, they just don't get it done. And they have that reputation for being chokers. And we've seen it the last 2 years. And we saw it again Sunday night. And until they change, make a difference, they start winning these games. You know, and regardless if you have a 2-score lead or a 3-score lead, ice the game, especially in the fourth period. You have to ice the game, run the clock, do all of those things, and they don't get it done. So there is no excuse. There is no reason except for they don't get it done, Jerry. That's the bottom line to it all.
And what about the accountability for the defense? A lot of people pointing the fingers at Coach Harbaugh, but Kyle Hamilton even said afterwards, Mike, when you get 40 points from your offense, you should win that game. And typically the Ravens do win those type of games, but the defense, the secondary that was much talked about during the offseason wasn't evident there in the fourth quarter at all.
Well, Jerry, I made a list here of here are all the guys they've drafted in the first round in the last 2 years. Starks, cornerback. Wiggins, cornerback. They made Kyle Hamilton the richest safety in the National Football League. Marlon Humphrey is a first-round pick. And even Alexander, the corner from Green Bay, was a former first-round pick. That's 5 guys. Make a play. All right, you have to make a play. That's what great players do, make plays in crunch time. And they didn't get it done. And for all those people keep saying, I would have went forward on 4th and 2, 4th and 3. No, you don't. You got all of these guys on the back end that you're paying big bucks that you drafted in the first round. Go make a play. That's the bottom line to it all. And I don't blame John Harbaugh for not going for it. These guys, you get paid to do that. Get out there and get it done. So it's just a matter of stepping up. And your players, your first-round pick, go make the play.
And about Jair Alexander, he was less than impressive. This is a guy that barely practiced during training camp because of either injury or getting too old. He got burned at least 3 times, committed an unfortunate penalty. Should he even been out on the field, Mike? I mean, with all the dwindled practice time he had, he played like 24 snaps in the second half and didn't seem effective at all.
I kind of question that. You know, he practiced a week before the Buffalo game and leading up to it. So that's like, 3 or 4 practices, but then he missed like 2.5 weeks. You know, I probably would have sat him and just said, nah, you come along, get in shape, get ready to play. Because, Jerry, what people don't realize is that when you're out with an injury, sometimes you're not in game shape. You can get on a stationary bike, you can go and do the treadmill, but you're not in game shape. And until you get out there and play, that's just the result of what has been done. So I probably would have held him out and used someone else, but they chose to do that, and they paid for it because if you go back and you watch the game, they didn't throw the ball inside. Those safeties, Kyle Hamilton and Starks, played very well. They threw it on the outside, and they went after those corners. And guess what? Cleveland's going to do the same thing this week until they stop and slow it down. Maybe they need to be more aggressive. Maybe they need to play up a little bit more and get in somebody's face. I don't know, but they cannot sit back and be as just they weren't very aggressive at all in that game, and maybe that changes.
And everyone wants to talk about shades of last year when it comes to the blown leads, but how about the defense? No pass rush whatsoever. They never really got to Josh Allen except one time with Matabike. No turnovers forced. Malachi Starks had an interception in his hands, couldn't hold on to it.
Well, pass rush has been an issue for 3 or 4 years. Matter of fact, you go back and say since Terrell Suggs left, when was he had a guy that's going to be that pass rusher? And I'm talking about there's a difference between Kavanaugh and Owe being solid players, because they are. But I'm talking about who's the go fetch guy, the guy that when you stick him out there, you put him on the end, and despite him getting double teamed or chipped, he's going to go and put pressure on the quarterback. They do not have that guy. Is Mike Green the answer? Maybe, but he probably won't be the answer. No, he won't be the answer this season as a rookie. They have to find that, and if they can't do that, they have to come up with various blitz packages and so forth. And probably see more of that this week with Cleveland, because Joe Flacco is not as mobile as Allen, but they got to come up with some ways to get pressure on the quarterback. And remember, Buffalo has a very good offensive line. They only allowed 14 sacks last year. That was the number one in the league.
I do want to address some guys on the offensive side of the ball. Let's start with Derrick Henry, who took full accountability for fumbling that ball. Listen, he dominated the game, but that fumble cost them essentially the football game. Had he held on to the football, they probably would have salted it away. But he was not going to be stopped. Buffalo has proven they cannot stop Derrick Henry. So that's got to make the Ravens feel good and when they do meet Buffalo again.
Well, the thing is, if you go back and watch the offensive line play, Tyler Linderbaum, if I'm going to play against him, I'm going to put a big nose guard over him because he has problems with that. And the guy, Ed Oliver, man, he was playing along that defensive line. He played extremely well. Joey Bosa, outside linebacker, defensive end, played very well against Roger Rosengarten, the Ravens' right tackle. So you go back and you say they need to improve. And Linderbaum needs to get better, at least matching up with a big nose guard. And until they do that, they're going to have penetration. They're going to have interruption of running plays. And that's exactly what happened to Ed Oliver. Just beat Rosengarten and got inside and goes and strips Derrick Henry of the ball. Should he have been holding onto the ball with two hands? Yes, but hey, if you step in front, you seal, he's off to the races. He averaged 9.1 yards a carry, or 9.4, whatever. That's a pretty good day. That's a first down every time he touches the football. I'll take that.
Yeah, and I also take the fact that Derrick Henry has only fumbled 21 times and over 2,300 career carries. That's pretty impressive. So it's very rare that we see that. What made it more astonishing was the 4th and 3 call that everyone is talking about with Lamar Jackson. Lamar was spectacular once again, but he cramped up late in the fourth quarter. And a lot isn't being made of that for some reason. Was he not in great shape? What was going on? Maybe he should have participated in the preseason, but how are you cramping up in the first game of the season in the fourth quarter and not being able to go out there and maybe get a first down and, again, put the game away?
That's you answered your own question. It's first game. A lot of people cramp up in the first game because you're not used to being out there. You're not used to the tempo. You're not used to the pace. And then all of a sudden you're out there and your body just says, wait a minute here. We're not used to this. We're not used to this pace. We're not used to this style. And it happens. And I bet you there was a whole bunch of other guys out there who had cramps because it was the first game. And Lamar played well. I have no problems with Lamar. I have no problems with how he threw passes, going over the middle. He threw intermediate, dink and dunk. He was eating them up. But again, you score 40 points, you should win every game. And so you can pick on Lamar. They can say what they want to about him. He played extremely well. That's why I give him an A.
More of the Bmore Football Podcast right after this.
At Rice Law, we've won millions for our injury clients, taken on the biggest insurance companies, and fought in the toughest courtrooms, and made it clear, strong lawyers win strong cases. But none of that matters today The only case that matters is yours, your fight, your future. And we're ready to go to battle for you. We don't rest on past victories. We fight every case like it's our only one. Because at Rice Law, the most important victory is the one we win for you.
Rice Law. Best advice, call Rice.
Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
For the last 25 years, Woodhome Insurance has been Baltimore's premier independent home, auto, and business insurance broker, representing over 30 carriers. For example, need an auto quote? Woodhome shops them all. Geico, Progressive, Travelers, AAA, Safeco, and Selective, and sends you back the best rates possible. I have personally been a client for over 2 decades, and they are world-class in service. Woodhome's owner, Rich Gottlieb, is happy to schedule a Zoom appointment with you at your convenience. Oh, and Rich is a longtime Ravens season ticket holder, so when at the game, let him know where you're tailgating. He'll drop by and say hello. So for all your needs, it's Woodhome Insurance, 410-580-2800 or woodhomeinsurance.com.
Meet the newest member of the Jack Daniels family, Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry. Jack Daniels takes pride in Old Number 7 being the backbone of all our flavors, and Jack Daniels Blackberry is no exception. A combination of our proprietary black liqueur and Jack Daniels' unique and unmistakable character, Jack Blackberry is a highly versatile juxtaposition of flavor. Delightfully sweet, bold, vibrant, and refreshing, Jack Blackberry is easily enjoyed with your favorite mixer, in a cocktail, or while enjoying your next football game. Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry is here, and as always, Jack Daniels reminds you to drink responsibly. When it comes to financial planning, most of us need help. The team at the Jim Kelly Financial Group has been offering sage advice for Marylanders for more than 30 years, like the Baltimore Sun's Mike Preston. But Jim Kelly offers value beyond sound investment management through tax-efficient strategies, behavioral coaching during market downturns, guidance on major life decisions, from career changes to elder care planning, as well as life insurance. This is where experienced financial advisors like Jim Kelly and the professional money management he provides can make all the difference. Call today and see if the Jim Kelly Financial Group can help you and your family at 410-486-5575. That's 410-486-5575. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
Well, you did. We'll get to the report card, but the reason I invoked that is because you wrote a scathing column about Lamar needing to grow up. And I thought this may have been part of it, the fact that he's cramping up in the first game and not in tip-top shape.
Well, it's not just the shape. What I was alluding to was more of being around the castle. If you're the quarterback and you're the guy, then when you have a devastating loss like you had to the Bills last season in the postseason, you got to get back there. It's your team. And that's all part of being a quarterback. How many quarterbacks in the NFL do you know that aren't the leaders? It's just part of the job. It's the natural part of the position of playing quarterback. Well, it's your team. Step up and be the leader. And hopefully he got the message. And Jerry, most of the coaches over there, no, not even most, all of them know. They know that's the next step for Lamar. If he wants to be great and if he wants to get that Super Bowl title, he needs to step up as far as being mature and being the leader of this football team. And maybe he did or didn't against the Bills. But again, one game, he played well. No complaints here.
Well, I do want to say we hear about how great the Bills fans are and how dedicated they are to their team, except the 10 or 15,000 that I guess left before the game was over. That was not surprising. I mean, they realized they had a 99% chance their team wasn't going to win, but they did evacuate quickly. But there was also an incident involving DeAndre Hopkins after scoring that great touchdown, his first as a Raven, one-handed catch, and Lamar Jackson. There was this fan who decided to put his hands on both of those guys. Coach Harbaugh reacted to that incident.
We talk about celebration, and we want our guys to celebrate with one another. You know, that's the whole idea. You know, and I didn't know. I guess I didn't know you're not allowed to go close to the stands. You know, to do that without being attacked. You know, by a fan. you score a touchdown, probably shouldn't have a frozen water bottle thrown at you either. You know, it's
Well, at least they weren't throwing other things like they have in the past at Bills games. But here's my opinion. You put your hands on a player, don't expect not any retaliation. Expect to be touched back or maybe even worse. Sorry, you shouldn't be touching players.
Right. And I agree with Lamar. I would have punched him out too. There is no question, you know. And so what if it was celebration and it was near the fans? If you go back and you watch the film, if you make that catch, they really are right up on the fans, because I was at that end of the press box and it was right there. So you could be drunk, you could be whatever you want to be. Do not touch players. And if you want to really show how manly you are, why don't you go and pick on one of those big defensive linemen? All right. You want to show me, oh, I'm the guy, I'm the man. Okay. Go pick on Haloti Nada. Okay. When he was playing, go pick on him. Okay. That's what I want to see. But you go pick on Lamar, and I'm glad Lamar did what he did. I would have swung on him. There's no question.
Me too. It was alcoholic bravery by that punk kid. He got what he deserved. All right. We're going to not talk about the Cleveland Browns game just yet. We will a little later in the podcast. We'll skip over this week 2 home opener. But this schedule after this Bills loss is quite daunting. We knew that. It doesn't get any easier. They got the Monday Night Football game with Detroit. They visit Kansas City, then get a pair of home games against playoff teams like the Texans and Rams. Bottom line, that loss to the Bills leaves them playing catch-up in the AFC the rest of the way.
Well, Jerry, guess what? That loss to the Bills will put both you and I back in Buffalo probably. In
You.
No, you too, because I'm going to make you go this time, man. You got to go. But they didn't put your face up on the scoreboard up there.
I don't mind the Bills fans. It is still a city of losers. It's not like you won the Super Bowl last Sunday. You won a freaking football game. Get back to me when the Sabres win a Stanley Cup or the Bills win the Super Bowl. Then we can all talk about a city of winners. Get out of here with that.
Well, anyway, that's where we're probably going to end up again because of that game. But we'll see what happens. I mean, people were just so eager to just cast judgment on this team. Oh, they're losers again. They find ways to lose. Stop. It's one game.
Thank you.
One game. You look at Kansas City against the Chargers, and they had no clue to what they were doing on the back end. Guys were wide open, receivers wide open, running all over the place. And I'm like, this is not Spagnuolo's defense. It's not the guy I used to see in the National Football League. So they're going to improve. Detroit, they're going to get better. So all of this stuff is just one game. I'm not going to say Zach Orr deserves to be fired. This guy deserves to be fired. No, it's one game. You play it. And what was very strange for me was usually offenses are behind defenses at this point in the season. I saw a lot of defenses struggling out there, and not just in pro football, but in college football. So something's going on. And I said it last week, when you have an entire new secondary, and then you got to put them out there, and they haven't played together in the preseason. All right, then you got to put them out there during the regular season, that first game. There's going to be a lot of miscommunication problems, and that's what happened with the Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens fans, don't panic and stay away from the bridges. Everything is going to be okay.
More of the Bmore Football Podcast right after this.
We hope you never need us, but if you're ever injured in an accident, we'll handle everything with trusted guidance and personal attention so you can focus on what matters most, your recovery. Rice Law. Best advice, call Rice.
RiceLawMD.com.
Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
For the last 25 years, Wood Home Insurance has been Baltimore's premier independent home, auto, and business insurance broker, representing over 30 carriers. For example, need an auto quote? Wood Home shops them all. Geico, Progressive, Travelers, AAA, Safeco, and Selective, and sends you back the best rates possible. I have personally been a client for over 2 decades, and they are world-class in service. Wood Home's owner, Rich Gottlieb, is happy to schedule a Zoom appointment with you at your convenience. Oh, and Rich is a longtime Ravens season ticket holder, so when at the game, let him know where you're tailgating. He'll drop by and say hello. So for all your needs, it's Wood Home Insurance, 410-580-2800 or woodhomeinsurance.com.
Meet the newest member of the Jack Daniels family, Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry. Jack Daniels takes pride in Old Number 7 being the backbone of all our flavors, and Jack Daniels Blackberry is no exception. A combination of our proprietary black liqueur and Jack Daniels' unique and unmistakable character, Jack Blackberry is a highly versatile juxtaposition of flavor. Delightfully sweet, bold, vibrant, and refreshing, Jack Blackberry is easily enjoyed with your favorite mixer, in a cocktail, or while enjoying your next football game. Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry is here, and as always, Jack Daniels reminds you to drink responsibly. When it comes to financial planning, most of us need help. The team at the Jim Kelly Financial Group has been offering sage advice for Marylanders for more than 30 years, like the Baltimore Sun's Mike Preston. But Jim Kelly offers value beyond sound investment management through tax-efficient strategies, behavioral coaching during market downturns, guidance on major life decisions, from career changes to elder care planning, as well as life insurance. This is where experienced financial advisors like Jim Kelly and the professional money management he provides can make all the difference. Call today and see if the Jim Kelly Financial Group can help you and your family at 410-486-5575. That's 410-486-5575. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
All right, let's head beyond Baltimore, which is sponsored by Relief. Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult use and medical cannabis dispensary with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery available always for medical patients, courtesy of Relief. So week 1 is in the books, presto. We tend to overreact, as we just said, 1 of 17. This is not baseball with 162 games, but you never want to overanalyze just one game. That said, teams like, I don't know, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Giants all looked as bad as advertised. Let's look at Miami with Mike McDaniel, who already looks like a beaten man and already seems like he's on the clock and got a disgruntled wide receiver in Tyreek Hill.
Oh, my goodness. Didn't he look like he was ready to cry? I don't blame him. I mean, I'm watching Tua, and what was he doing? Where was his mindset? You know, he couldn't get into the offense. His dropbacks were, like, very shallow. And here's a guy who's, what is he, 5'10", 5'11", whatever he is, and he's taking a shallow drop back? No, get your butt in the back and throw the football. The Giants, they would have a quarterback controversy after one game. One game. And they're already talking about
that's what happens.
Yeah, and then you watch the Jets. Now, how many of us watched the Jets-Steelers game, and you're thinking, these are the Jets. They're going to have a meltdown, and you know it. And they did. And then all of a sudden, now Aaron Rodgers, he's the guy. He's going to lead Pittsburgh. Come on. All right. Just keep an eye on him, and we'll see. But, hey, Jerry, when I'm watching that game, I see Aaron Rodgers with those long, slow handoffs to the running back, and I'm like, no, you need to get in the back, and you need a little, like, misdirection so these guys just don't run towards you. We'll see what happens. I wonder if he's going to hold up the entire year. They're still one of my most intriguing teams in the NFL, but is he going to hold up the entire season? That's an interesting call.
Yeah, the thing about Rodgers, Mike, after the game, he was talking all this junk about the Jets, and they didn't think I could play. Well, when you were in New York, you couldn't play the last game. What you were watching, go back and look at the game film. I mean, you played a great game Sunday against your former team, although that Steelers defense looked a little suspect.
Yes, they did. Especially they just kept giving up yards against the run, just got pounded. And that's strange. That's really different from a Steelers defense because they're known for shutting down the run. But all of a sudden, they were just giving it up. And, you know, Fields, that's the best I've seen him play in 2-3 years. I was pretty remarkable. Some of his passes were pinpoint. This is not the same guy I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. He's different, but hey, new coach, new situation, new team. Sometimes that can do it.
Yeah, the Saints look awful, but we knew that coming into the season, so no surprise.
Yeah. The Saints, I put them in the same category with Cleveland. They're just never going to get it together. They try, and they try hard, but they are who they are. And that goes back to the old Brian Billick saying, they are who they are. They're not very good.
Starts at the top with ownership, too, as I've said repeatedly.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the report card with Professor Preston. We finally have a report card to discuss, and we'll do it thoroughly here each week with Mike Preston's report card. Let's begin with number 8. We always start with the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. And what type of grade did Lamar receive from you?
Lamar got an A. Played extremely well. That play he made on third and whatever, and he runs back. I think he ran like 70 yards to get like 19 for a first down. That's Lamar Jackson. That's what he does well. But he dinked and dunked. The touchdown pass to Hopkins was incredible. Great touch. I just thought he played extremely well. He played within himself, and they took advantage. And his connection with Zay Flowers. So I gave him an A.
I agree. The only thing that I had, the issue was at times it felt like he was holding on to the football a little too long, looking to find someone open. But he can get away with that, unlike most quarterbacks.
Well, if you can run and move around, it's like Josh Allen. Did the same thing. There were times when the Ravens, you thought, they're going to get to him. And then all of a sudden he takes off and he just goes. So.
What about the running back situation? They played 2. They didn't use Keaton Mitchell.
Well, that was a little surprising. But then again, they have a surplus of running backs. But Derrick Henry, what do you have, 169 yards? That's a very good day. You should win most games like that. And he had the fumble. Well, what I liked about him was he at least stood up and was accountable. There's some guys in that locker room that aren't accountable. They disappeared quickly after games, especially after big losses. This guy stood right up and just said, this one's on me. And I like that. I admire that about him. And he's going to play well. And a memo to the Ravens. Do not forget about this guy in the postseason. All right? Do not forget about him.
Yeah, you gave him an A, and rightfully so, the running back core.
Right.
But you made a point in taking accountability. For savvy Ravens fans, look to see who speaks after the game. There's a way to find that out because there are some guys that go directly to the team bus as the coach and other players are speaking, and they avoid the media. And you can tell who those people are because you never heard a quote from them after the game.
Very good, Jerry.
Yep, well, been around here a while, so we both know this. All right, let's move on to your favorite positional group. That's always the offensive line. What type of grade did you give them?
I thought they did some nice things. Running the ball, great initial pop and getting guys off the ball. But again, Lindenbaum,
yes,
Rosengarten, they got beat one-on-one. And those plays where they got beat kind of turned the game around.
Yeah.
And they have to eliminate those. And I think as you go over the film, you might say, okay, maybe Rosengarten needs some help. Maybe we need a chip block on Bosa, Oliver, whatever. But then you make those recommendations and then you see what happens. But I gave them a B, but too many problems and on one-on-ones that cost them in that game.
Yeah, I thought Linderbaum was pretty solid, especially blocking for Derrick Henry. And this is a guy who hasn't given up a sack the last 2 years as well.
Yeah, he's very fast, and he can pull, which is what I like. And you see a lot of centers in this league. They very seldom do they get out in front. This is a guy who can get down the field and get into the second, third levels. He's very good at that. So, no, I thought he played well overall. But I think if I'm going to play against him, I'm going to cover him with a big nose guard.
How about the receiving core, Mike? They seem to have a solid performance. What grade did they get?
I gave them an A. I thought Flowers played extremely well. And you know what they did? They got him the ball in space, and he ran a lot of crossing routes. And that's what you want with a slot receiver, especially a small guy like him. I was very happy to see that. Hopkins, the one-hander in the end zone, that's an incredible catch, but that's why they brought him here. All right, those hands, those great hands, make that play, make that catch. Probably would have got Bateman a little bit more involved, but still, there were times when Lamar, when he went twins to one side and then threw back to Bateman on the other side, he was open, a couple slant ends, did a nice job. And Jerry, let's remember, you're not going to be able to get all these receivers the ball all the time, but for the most part, it was spread around. And I thought the receivers and the running backs and the offense did a nice job.
What about Mark Andrews? Did you anticipate that he would have a bigger role?
No. The thing going into the game was, how are they going to defend Flowers? They didn't see him last year. They did not see him in the postseason. Okay, so who's going to follow this slot guy? Who's going to match up with this speed? All right, and do they have anybody who can do that? And apparently they didn't. All right, because he was wide open most of the times. And I keep hearing people say, "Oh, redemption," for Mark Andrews. I don't care about redemption. You know what I care about? Win the damn game. That's what it's about. It's not about redemption. I don't care if he gets a touchdown pass and they win the game. No, win the game. And the Ravens were close, and they should have won.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to the defensive line. We talked about them. They mixed it up front, but they were never able to really get to Josh Allen too much.
Well, kind of listening to Harbaugh yesterday when he started talking about passing lanes, it's called lane integrity. Okay, they're designed pass rushes where you switch and one guy goes down and you loop to the outside and so forth. But for the most part, you have to stay in your lane. And the Ravens, apparently John thought they weren't there enough, where he could step up, he could move around and so forth. I thought Matabike played a good game, but the other guys, so-so. I would like more pass pressure. They have to get more pressure on quarterbacks. And the key, Jerry, is not only do you get pressure on quarterbacks, you got to take them down now, because in this game, quarterbacks can run. All right, that's the name of the game. You got to sack them, and they didn't get it done. So I gave them a C. I was not impressed.
Actually, it was a C-. Let's not be so kind.
Well, I was trying to be a nice guy, but
well, that's below average, C-. The linebacker core, what grade did they receive, Mike?
I gave them a C, C- too. They weren't very good either. No, I thought Smith got beat in pass coverage a lot. Trenton Simpson, did you notice he disappeared in the second half of that game?
I did. Didn't hear his name.
And they started going to the rookie Teddy Buchanan. That's interesting. Keep an eye on that situation. The outside guys, did Davi Owe, did he play?
He was out there. I don't know if he touched the quarterback at all. He was out there in presence, yes.
He had one tackle. That was it. One tackle.
And all we heard about is how much weight he lost and how much strength he gained in the offseason.
Yeah, and then he was going to be the man. But Jerry, don't we hear that every preseason? Don't we hear that in every
We don't hear about a guy who got fat and less strong during the offseason. Hear that story.
And Van Noy, I thought Van Noy played well against the run, but he's not that pass rusher. I mean, and good for him because he's a little older. I like the way he plays, but I want a fetch guy. I want a guy who's going to get in there and make a move. And I don't know if they have that guy on the roster. So it wasn't a very good day for them either.
It wasn't. And it wasn't either for the secondary. They are next up with your grade. We heard how improved this group was during the offseason. You talked at the top of the podcast about all the top round picks out there. And what did they get?
We know what they got. D for dog. I thought the safeties played well. I like what Kyle Hamilton brought to the game. Even though he got injured, came back, and he almost blocked that field goal at the end. Got a finger on it. I think Starks is going to be very good. Very smart, sensible on the back end. But the corners, I I just can't figure out what happened with the matchups in this. Are you going to get up in somebody's face? Are you going to push these guys around? The Bills don't have great receivers. They don't. But the Ravens made them look good. And Alexander wasn't very good at all. Matter of fact, even on the play where they throw the pass and he stumbles and then he takes the receiver down, and I'm like, why couldn't he just stay down and let him go in the end zone and score? All right, because to me, that was the only hope they had, because after that play, when he took him down, this is over. They have no timeouts left. This is done. It's finished. But their secondary didn't play very well. And go back and watch the film outside. Always on the outside. They did not challenge the Ravens on the inside. And what happened to Kyle Hamilton as a pass rusher? He's one of the best pass rushers on the team, but he's on the back end most of the time. That was a little strange. I probably would have blitzed Marlon Humphrey a little bit more off the edge as well, because he was lined up on the slot guy. I don't know. You have to go back and check with the Ravens, see what's going on there, but that's the way I would have changed up a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Kyle would be rushing Josh Allen a little bit more than he was last Sunday night. But what really surprised me about Kyle was trying to channel his inner Ed Reed and lateral that ball after that point conversion, not realizing could have been a safety for the other team, a 1-point safety, which we've never seen before.
Well, you know what's funny was Kyle Van Noy was having no parts of that. This is like, nah, man, I'm just taking a knee. That was funny where he just sat down and squatted and said, no, we're not having that. See, the thing is, Van Noy has a little age on him. He's smart enough to realize I'm probably not going to run 95 yards down the field for a touchdown. And I don't know if I have the speed or the stamina to do that. So I'm just going to sit down right now. And it was strange. It was a strange play by Hamilton. And I questioned what John Harbaugh had to say to him after it was over. It was like, what are you doing? You can't make that play. I mean, if you're going to lateral it to somebody, at least lateral it to another corner or another safety, but you're not going to throw it to the outside linebacker. That was very strange.
Yeah, he actually asked Kyle if he graduated from Notre Dame afterwards. All right, moving on to the special teams. They had a very active opener. How did they fare in the grades?
You know, I gave them a B. I probably should have graded them down to a C. The more I thought about it, but you know, on deadline, trying to make things happen really quick. I thought the kicker Loop was pretty successful, even though he missed an extra point, and that's going to haunt him. All right, because they only lost by 1 point. But for the most part, pretty accurate. I thought the return game for Buffalo, when the first series they had the ball, they came right out and took it like 40, 49 yards to the Ravens 50. Too many return yards, way too much. And I know the Ravens have to go back and look at it and say, we got to fix this. We got to get this corrected. And Jerry, the league basically wants you to return kicks. They want that to happen.
Yeah. But
still, you're letting a team start at the 45, 50-yard line. And then Trenton Simpson missed the one, and he didn't do it with inside that zone they have it now. And they got the ball at like 40. You got to watch that. The Ravens need to work on that. They got to improve on their coverage.
Yeah, too many times the Bills had excellent field position because of a special team snafu. All right, let's move on to coaching. The lunatics are already out there calling for Coach Harbaugh's head, which we know isn't going to happen with this steady Ravens organization after one game. But what grade did Coach Harbaugh receive, or the coaching staff altogether, offensive, defensive coordinator, and the special teams?
I gave him a B. I thought Monken's game plan was excellent. I thought he had them off balance. He did pretty much whatever he wanted to do. 40 points, you should win a game. Got his receivers in the mix. Got the running game going. And the Ravens, the key for the Ravens is whenever their running game is very strong, their play action game is excellent. And I thought he did a nice job of running Lamar Jackson off the edge, off the perimeter and keeping those option plays alive. But on the defensive side, I expected them to be more aggressive, to go after Josh Allen. And to do that, Be creative. You can't just sit in one thing. At one time, I think they've rushed 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 plays in a row in the fourth period. No. Go get them. You know, hey, I'm going back to the Wink Martindale playbook. All right, I'm just bringing the heat. All right, and whatever happens. You know, that old Rex Ryan, hey, I don't care. Pressure. I expected more. I didn't see more. I think we'll see more this week because they're playing Joe Flacco, and he's not as mobile, you know, as Josh Allen. But I really wanted to see more. I wanted to see pass rushers. And do the Ravens go out and is Clowney still free? Is Clowney still free? And,
If he signed with the team, you think they're going to bring him back for another tour of duty, though?
I don't know, but I would make a phone call, or at least see if he's interested. You know, they need a pass rusher. They need a go fetch guy. They don't have one. Not there. But for the most part, their defense, not very good. Special teams, average. I gave him a B. Probably should have graded him down to a C+.
All right, let's move on to week 2. The Browns are coming to town with Joe Flacco. They're double-digit underdogs, but we do know what happened last year when the Raiders came to Baltimore and pulled off a upset with Gardner Minshew. Joe's a statue. The Ravens should be able to get to him, so they should accumulate at least more than one sack. But how do you see things playing out against the sorry Browns? I mean, they just lost to the Bengals. We know who they are. They have bad ownership. They have a lot of bad personnel. They have a history of bad vibes in that organization. There's no reason the Ravens shouldn't take care of business Sunday.
Right, and they don't have a kicker. You know, on offense, they have 3 players. Look, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, David Njoku, tight end, and they like this rookie running back, Dylan Sampson. Can he get it done? I don't know. Their offensive line was always good, but I don't think they're strong on defense. Myles Garrett, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward can play. Greg Newsome can play. They got their cornerbacks back. They're very strong, so they'll keep it close, as they did with Cincinnati. I mean, they were still right there. I mean, Joe Flacco threw for 290 yards in that game, or 295, something like that. That's a pretty good day, and he had 2 picks, but they weren't his fault. We'll see what happens, but the Ravens should win this one. They'll be more aggressive. They will mix and match and take care of the Browns. And the Browns usually don't beat them unless they play them in Cleveland.
Yeah,
they're here, so we'll see what happens. But the Ravens should win.
Yeah, someone reminded me I got to get rid of this picture that's behind me of Joe Flacco and myself because he's playing for the opponent. But Joe's always going to be beloved here in Baltimore. He won a Super Bowl here. And listen, I mean, he had to go away because Lamar was here. But it's amazing this guy is still playing.
Joe's a good guy. He's got 5 kids now, 41 years old. Hey, man, if you can play in this league and wear your baseball cap backwards and be number 2 quarterback, you're blessed. That's a great living. If you're a starter, you worry about getting hurt. But overall, Joe's a good man, a good guy, and he made history here in Baltimore. And they probably won't do the pregame introduction, but it would be interesting to see how he is received here in Baltimore when he comes back.
No doubt about it. All right, we both see the Ravens prevailing here in week 2 and getting back to 1-1. We will see how it plays out. We want to thank senior executive producer Chip Franklin for putting this latest episode together. We are back next week following the Browns game with a very special guest, a Ravens Hall of Famer. I won't tell you who it is, but you have a list of 3 to choose from. Until then, be kind and make sure to be back next week for another episode of the Bmore Football Podcast.
The Bmore Football Podcast is brought to you by Rice Law.